The wife notices retirement savings slowly disappearing. Digging deeper, she finds the money's been funding a second household's mortgage and school fees. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Let's start. The number on the screen didn't add up. Diane stared at the retirement statement, refreshing it twice, like the app might correct itself. $41,000. Gone. Not gradually. In one withdrawal, dated 6 weeks ago. She called Robert into the kitchen, phone in hand. "Bob, what's this withdrawal from the Fidelity account?" He didn't even look up from his coffee. Moved it into a better fund. Rates were terrible where it was sitting. $41,000, and you didn't think to mention it? I mention things when there's something to mention, Diane. It's still ours. Relax. She wanted to believe him. 29 years of marriage had taught her that Robert managed money his own way. Quietly, confidently, and usually right. So she let it go. But that night, after he fell asleep, she opened the banking app again. Not the retirement account this time. The checking account. Scrolling back 3 months, 4, 5. And there it was. A recurring transfer, same day every month, to an account she didn't recognize. No label, no memo. Just a routing number and an amount that never changed. Her thumb hovered over it. She could ask him again in the morning, or she could find out herself first. She tapped View Linked Accounts. The screen loaded a name she'd never heard in her life. The name on the screen was Melissa R. Grant. Diane sat frozen at the kitchen table, phone glowing in the dark. The rest of the house silent except for Robert's breathing down the hall. She screenshotted the account details before her hands could shake too much to hold the phone steady. The next morning, she drove straight to her sister's house instead of work. Carol Ann took one look at her face and put the coffee pot down. What happened? Diane slid her phone across the table. There's a name on our account. A woman. Robert's been sending her money every month for at least 5 months. That I can find. Carol Ann scrolled through the screenshots, jaw tightening. Diane, that's not a fund. That's a person. Maybe it's a loan. Maybe $41,000 in one shot isn't a loan payment. And you know it. Carol Ann set the phone down. You need to find out who Melissa Grant is before you say one more word to him. Diane didn't sleep that night. She started keeping a private notebook. Dates, amounts, Robert's business trips, cross-referenced against the transfers. Every trip to Denver, every late meeting. It was starting to form a shape she didn't want to see. 3 days later, Robert's phone buzzed on the counter while he was in the shower. Diane wasn't proud of what she did next, but she looked. A calendar reminder, cheerful and small. Melissa's recital tonight. Don't forget the flowers. Diane set the phone down exactly where she found it, hands cold. Whoever Melissa was, she wasn't a co-worker, and she wasn't going anywhere quietly. Diane needed more than a name and a calendar reminder. She needed proof that would hold up, not just to convince herself, but to protect what was left of her future. She called a forensic accountant, Mr. Feldman, and told him it was for estate planning. He didn't ask questions. He just asked for 6 months of statements. It took him 4 days to call back. "Mrs. Whitfield, I want to walk you through this in person," he said. His tone told her everything before she sat down. At his office, he laid out 3 printed pages. Your retirement account has funded a mortgage payment every month for the last 3 years. Same account, same routing number. There's also a private school tuition payment, twice a year, and a car loan, co-signed under your husband's name. Diane's voice came out flatter than she expected. 3 years. At minimum. I can only trace back as far as your statements go. That afternoon, she didn't go home. She typed the address tied to the mortgage into her GPS and drove past it slowly, like a stranger casing a house that wasn't hers to know. A woman was unloading groceries from a minivan. 2 kids ran past her toward the front door, a boy, maybe 12, and a younger girl trailing a backpack. Diane didn't stop the car. She didn't need to. The house, the kids, the woman's easy familiarity with the driveway, it all confirmed what the spreadsheet already said in black and white. That night, cleaning out Robert's glove box to swap in her registration sticker, she found a card tucked behind the manual. Anniversary card. Robert's handwriting inside. 3 years with you, and I still choose you every day. R. Dated 3 years ago. Diane sat in the driveway a long time before going inside. Robert was watching TV like nothing in the world was wrong. She smiled at him and said goodnight. She had no intention of confronting him yet, not until she knew exactly how much of their future she was going to take back. For the next 3 weeks, Diane became someone Robert didn't recognize, and he never noticed why. She stopped asking about the accounts, stopped mentioning Denver, stopped checking his phone. Instead, she spent her lunch breaks at Feldman's office, going line by line through 5 years of statements, building a folder that grew thicker every week, printed bank records, the mortgage documents Feldman had traced, copies of the anniversary card, screenshots time-stamped and labeled. Robert, oddly, softened. He started coming home earlier, brought her flowers on a random Tuesday, booked a dinner reservation at the place they went for their 10th anniversary. "You've been quiet lately," he said one night, refilling her wine. "Everything okay?" "Just tired," Diane said. "Work's been a lot." He studied her a second too long, like he sensed something shifting but couldn't name it. Then he let it go, same way she used to let things go. She met with attorney Grace Okafor the following Monday, folder in hand. Grace flipped through it in silence, then looked up. "This isn't just infidelity, Mrs. Whitfield. This is financial abandonment of the marital estate. We can move fast on this, and we can move hard." Diane nodded. "I want it done clean. I don't want a war. I want it finished." "Then let's finish it." Walking out of the office, Diane felt something close to calm for the first time in weeks, until her phone buzzed with a text from Robert. "Hey, thinking of restructuring some of our finances soon. Talk tonight?" Diane stopped on the sidewalk, reading it twice. Restructuring. Now, right when she was building her case. He was either getting nervous or getting ready to hide something before she could stop him. Either way, the timeline had just changed. She wasn't going to wait much longer. Diane didn't wait for tonight. She moved first. She called Feldman that afternoon and had him finalize the report. Every transfer, every date, every dollar, printed and bound. Then she called Grace. "I want the papers ready by Friday." Friday evening, she cooked dinner. Robert's favorite. Roast chicken. The good wine. He came home relaxed, kissed her cheek, thanked her for a night in for once. They ate. Small talk. Weather. Work. Nothing. When the plates were cleared, Diane reached under her chair and set a folder on the table between them. "What's this?" Robert asked, still smiling. "Open it." He flipped through the first few pages. Statements, highlighted transfers, and his smile faded fast. By the third page, his hands had gone still. "Diane, I can explain. You don't need to. Feldman already did." Her voice didn't shake. Melissa Grant, her mortgage, her kids' tuition, her car loan, all funded from our retirement account. 3 years, Robert. Maybe longer. It's not what you think. I don't think anything anymore. I know. She slid the last page toward him. A total, circled in red. That's how much of our future you spent building someone else's. Robert's jaw tightened, panic sliding into defense. You've been checking out of this marriage for years, Diane. Don't act like... Save it. She reached into her bag and placed a second folder beside the first. I've already spoken to a lawyer. These are the divorce papers. You can read them tonight, or you can read them with your own attorney tomorrow. Either way, I'm done. Robert stared at the papers like they might disappear if he didn't touch them. Then his phone buzzed on the table, screen lighting up between them. A text from Melissa. Did you tell her about us? She just texted me something insane. Diane looked up at him, calm as ever. Looks like she already knows more than you wanted her to. Robert grabbed the phone, color draining from his face. Diane stood, smoothed her dress, and walked toward the stairs. Good night, Robert. Robert didn't sleep that night. Diane heard him pacing downstairs until 2 a.m. Phone pressed to his ear, voice dropping low every time he thought she might be listening. By morning, the story had already cracked open on its own. Melissa showed up at the house before 9, something Diane never expected, and something Robert clearly hadn't planned for either. She stood on the porch, eyes red, voice shaking. Is it true? She asked Diane directly, ignoring Robert entirely. The money. It came from your retirement. He told me he was separated. He told me the house was his money. Diane didn't flinch. It came from 29 years of savings, mine included. Melissa turned to Robert, and whatever had been holding her loyalty together snapped in real time. You told me she knew. You told me it was over between you 2 years ago. Melissa, let me explain. My kids' school, our house, that was never yours to give. Melissa's voice cracked. I won't let them grow up in the middle of this mess. I'm done, Robert. She left without another word, and Robert stood on his own porch, watching 2 women he'd lied to walk away from him within 12 hours of each other. That afternoon, Grace called Diane with an update. The courts granted an emergency freeze on the remaining retirement assets and the joint accounts, pending the division hearing. He can't move another dollar without both our signatures now. Diane exhaled for what felt like the first time in weeks. Robert tried calling her twice that evening. She let both go to voicemail. The second one, 3 seconds long, just said, Diane, please, I don't know what I have left. She didn't call back. She already knew the answer. He had exactly what he'd built with someone else's money, and none of it was real anymore. The divorce moved faster than Robert expected, because Diane and Grace made sure it did. Feldman's report went straight into the court filing. Every withdrawal, every date, every dollar traced back to Melissa's mortgage and the kids' tuition. Grace didn't just argue infidelity. She argued financial abandonment of the marital estate, and the judge had little patience for Robert's excuses. Then came the part Robert hadn't seen coming. His company's travel and expense records got pulled into discovery. Years of business trips to Denver that lined up suspiciously well with Melissa's recitals and school events. Some of them billed as client visits that never existed. HR opened its own investigation the same week the divorce hearing was scheduled. Robert lost his job before the ink on the settlement was dry. The court awarded Diane the house, the majority of what remained in the retirement account, and a judgment requiring Robert to repay a portion of the diverted funds over time. Money he no longer had steady income to repay quickly. He tried one last time, standing in the driveway as she carried the last of his boxes to his car himself. Diane, 29 years. Doesn't that mean anything to you? It meant everything to me, she said. That's why I kept records instead of just crying about it. She didn't slam the door. She didn't raise her voice. She just went back inside, locked it behind her, and stood in her kitchen. The same kitchen where she'd once let a $41,000 question slide. For the first time in months, the silence in the house didn't feel like something being hidden from her. It felt like hers again. 6 months later, Diane's kitchen table wasn't set for two anymore. It was covered in ledgers and laptop, the start of a small bookkeeping business she'd built from nothing but Feldman's old client referrals and her own stubborn refusal to stay idle. Carol Ann stopped by most Sundays now, wine in hand, no longer needing to check if Diane was doing okay. She just was. She heard about Robert secondhand, the way you hear about weather in a city you used to live in. A smaller apartment, a sales job 2 rungs below what he used to have. Melissa had moved out of state with her kids months ago. No forwarding address, no goodbye. Whatever Robert had built on borrowed money hadn't survived the debt it was built on. Diane didn't feel triumphant when she heard it. She just felt finished. One evening, going through old files for a client, she found the folder, the original one, the spreadsheet with the red circled total. She almost threw it away. Instead, she filed it under a new label. Before. Because whatever came next in her life would be filed under something else entirely, something with just her name on it.